brother. Hulk Hogan. Anyway, brother, here's Wonderwall. Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, whenever it is you chose to watch / listen to this thing.
Wherever you find yourself in life.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. Hopefully it's in motion, though.
Oh, certainly in motion.
Speaking of something that we're putting into motion, or attempting to put into motion.
Fill me in.
Well, through a series of sidebar personal requests, we've noticed some interest in some prints of some photos, and that is something that I have done a very piss poor job of.
Oh, yeah.
Printing
Same.
my work, because
Same.
every time I do break down and print some work, I'm always blown away. You should always print your work.
Blown away at how good or like bad?
There's something about actually holding something tangible that
Physical.
you created, as opposed to looking at it on some sort of screen.
We hold the physical
It's not
product.
backlit at that point. You should print your work.
Man, I do a horrible job at it, too. I buy other people's prints.
You should print your work.
I'm never confident enough to print my work for some reason.
I think you should print your work because that's the only way you're going to learn, I think.
I'm glad you said that, because we are absolutely going to be printing work. We have been challenged by ourselves and at the recommendation of some of our followers, some of the public, to go capture some local landmarks around our area, around the Tri-Cities and northeastern Tennessee.
Well, because we mentioned our love for the area
Correct.
in one of the past episodes. And landmarks, like people, can be here today, gone tomorrow. And if you don't have it documented through a photo, then, I don't know, it's kind of hard to remember.
I think it's cool, too, to show it in its current state, because with most landmarks, you see them when they were built.
Yep.
You see them as they were being used over the years. You know, like we think about old general stores. We have the feed store down below my house here.
Right.
But to see them in their current state, good or bad,
Yeah.
I believe is a very, very good way to close the story of that landmark, where it sits now, and then eventually, if it does go away.
But here's the cool thing to me about a photo. Let's take Wells Feed Store, for example. Let's go snap some photos of that.
Yes.
Paint it in the best light we can. That photo, that singular photo, is going to mean something different to every person.
For sure.
To, say, an 80-year-old, they're going to immediately remember the heyday of when it was functional.
They remember going there as a kid.
As a kid. The kid who sees it, that maybe passes it or has passed it on the bus or something, they're going to remember it in its current state. But
In high school, we used to go throw rocks at it.
that singular photo can invoke so many different memories and thoughts for people.
Right.
So, yeah, what we're going to do is we're taking requests right now, asking for recommendations.
We got a few.
We do have a few. We would like some more. We may not be able to get to all of them this first round.
Right.
But what we're trying to do is we are setting out to document, preserve, and capture through photo some of our local landmarks that basically people want to see enshrined. And these photos will be available for purchase over at motioncreative.media.
I love that website.
It's a pretty good website.
I like
It's
it.
not bad.
Made by a
Certainly
couple of
better than our
dudes.
first one.
Definitely better than the first one. Still made by the same dudes, as we mentioned in episode 1. Same dudes, just new name, new mission. Yeah, go grab a print whenever we get those available online. Motioncreative.media.
So yeah, we'll let you know when they're done.
Yes.
But in the meantime, seriously, go let us know through some sort of DM, comment, message, whatever, what you would like to see captured, and we're going to do our darndest to get those done.
Be on the lookout. Speaking of capturing things, we have a guest here today capturing
our first guest.
Yeah, capturing some BTS right now. This is a monumental moment because we're not capturing our own BTS.
BTS, for those who don't know, that means behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes.
Which everybody seems to love.
Now, we're going to bring our guest out here in a second.
But first, let's take a break. Let's thank our sponsor for today. After the break, we'll bring our guest on.
Our sponsor for Faith and Frames episode 4 today, none other than Motion Creative Media. Us. Jared and Garrett.
Bingo.
Here at Motion Creative Media, we want to inspire love for active living through photo and video that moves your business forward.
I like that every time I hear it.
I love it. It's got a good little jingle to it.
Brianna did a good job.
Brianna did. Shout out again, Brianna Fillers. Shout out to us. Contact us if you guys are looking for any business needs in your content creation department.
To move it forward.
Move it forward. Onward and upward.
We want to partner and take that journey with you.
We also want to partner with Manscaped. I'm so thankful that they're eventually going to be a sponsor here on the channel. This is petition, I think, number 3, possibly. Petition number 3 for Manscaped. Guys, if you're out there listening, can't wait to have you. It's going to be a real fun time.
There you go.
Jared, meat and taters. Who's our guest today?
He brought us chicken minis today.
Let's get to the chicken minis.
The chicken minis.
Let's get to the little chickens, the chicken littles.
Ooh-wee.
Let's chop it up. Who's our guest today?
Justus Stewart from NotJust Media. So you got to pronounce it that way.
Welcome.
Because I think that's important.
Wow. You guys are pros.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
I was just belly laughing before you started. Then you guys, I blinked and you guys were in this beautiful podcast conversation. You even dove into something really heartfelt with those landmarks and memories. And
He's the emotional one.
I'm a crier.
He's a crier.
Hopefully no one on the podcast ever sees that, but I'm a crier.
I can't wait till the day they do. We might get some sponsorships that way from some emotional support groups.
oh,
Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee.
Just saying.
maybe like Kleenex tissues.
Hey,
Yes.
real quick, speaking of support groups, we shot an event.
We did. All
The
three of us.
right? The collective.
Plus Bradley Dingus.
We were there, and Bradley was
plus
there.
Bradley. Can't count Bradley out.
He sure was
Support groups, tiers, community. I mean, dang, it had it all.
I still crack up at that because it was not the support group that we would have ever thought would ever reach out to 3 dudes.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a good way. I mean, in a good way. Like,
Right.
obviously, we have talents in our industry and we know what we're doing, but just the group itself. Strong mom. Strong mom.
there. This was a blast.
It was fun.
I got a lot more out of that than I ever thought I would.
I think I got a lot more appreciation
Yes.
out of that. I mean, obviously, like, physiologically, a lot of the principles do not apply.
Right.
But on this side of the tracks, on this side of the equation, I have a new respect.
But the first thing I had to do when I got home was apologize to my wife,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what I did.
I told
And
my wife the night we got back.
She made it even harder on me when I went to apologize to my wife. I basically tried to get away with the 2 words, "I'm sorry." And
Sorry for what?
yeah, I had to. She like kept prying it out of me.
Then you started crying.
He definitely started crying.
I actually I
No
I
tears
didn't
there?
cry, but it was hard.
I was met with the a quick reverberated, well, yeah, from my life.
I've been trying to tell you this since we've been together.
Duh. I mean, clearly I don't pick up on signs and signals at times.
Yeah.
I tell my wife you have to be very clear
Yeah.
with me on what your intents, what the instructions are, anything above, because my brain sometimes processes things
If you want me to
differently.
do the laundry,
Just tell me.
yeah,
Just
I'll
tell
go
me.
do it. But don't.
Actually, touchy. Let's not encourage her on this one, guys. I'm horrible at helping
And
with
we'll be
laundry.
right back.
After the next break, after we cut this whole segment out. No, I'm horrible with laundry. My wife knows it. I know it. I try to make up for that deficiency in other areas of the household.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Listen, it is a give and take. It is a 2-person job.
for sure.
But yeah, Justice.
guys.
What did you think about it?
The event,
Yeah. What were your thoughts?
I thought it was a blast. I think I didn't realize the close quarters we would be staying in.
Oh man, you mean you didn't ask for the double queen bed?
Oh, what?
With 4 dudes?
What? No, I mean, and our Waffle House adventure.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, can't be
Hey,
ignored.
I'm still looking for that clip though.
Oh, I gotta send it to you.
You've got it? Okay.
Yeah.
We need that because I think the world needs to see that.
I don't know if the world needs to see that.
I believe it was a party somewhere in the USA.
Possibly.
Have
maybe.
you made it clear to your viewers that everywhere Garrett goes, he not only meets someone but stirs something up in people that get them to do things I bet you they didn't realize they would do.
Think of Longhorn the next night.
Literally after Waffle House.
Again, my wife specifically mentioned that. She said, you had a random woman come over and high five you. Like, what's that all about? I was like, listen, she was like mid-50s, early 60s, celebrating life. She come over for double high fives. Like, I had to double high five her.
As pure happenstance, how
choice.
many birthdays were at this Longhorn that
There was
night?
like 17,
That is
no
true.
less than.
That is true. Remember when we walked in and we're like, where'd Garrett go? And then we turned the corner and he's like,
I'm high-fiving another birthday table.
High-fiving.
Whole table.
Because they had shirts.
They had matching shirts. This man was turning 50. And I stopped. I said, I got to ask, which one of y'all is the birthday person?
Yeah.
And they're like, it's the birthday man right here. I'm like, my man.
My man.
The matching shirts is next level. I can't wait.
to get
I
to that
can't,
level.
I don't know what age it happens at.
50, evidently.
Possibly.
It's monumental.
I can't wait for that day. That's going to be fun. And the name that's associated with those shirts will
Oh my gosh.
also be so fun.
Yeah, everybody had their own alias on the back.
I'm talking about the name of the event.
Oh, you
Lest I remind you,
Bradley, if you're listening, just go ahead and close your ears.
How does this take us
How many
off
times
guard?
have we heard this? We're trying to do a podcast.
you guys won't have to hear it again, but lest I remind you,
Okay.
you'll know the event name when it occurs.
Yeah. But yeah, so you enjoyed it, right? Other than the close quarters?
It really was a good time. The event was actually incredible. I think it was fun shooting. I mean, shot on some cool cameras.
Oh, yeah.
The C70s.
Always. Yeah.
Yeah.
The baddies,
Which using those, that was nice.
they're very handy in a run and gun environment like that.
The ergonomics of them they're top notch.
At what point in time did you realize that you wanted to hop in the cold plunge tanks with one of those bad boys and just get in the action?
Ooh-wee.
I feel like they could have taken it. They feel very robust.
They do, except for their
Top
LCD
handle.
screens.
Their top handle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Sorry, Canon. I guess you won't be sponsoring the podcast.
Well, I wonder why. What happened to your coffee cup there? Where's your,
Oh, the handle.
where'd that go?
The absence of the handle.
The absence of the handle.
His dad bod got too
I
strong
was
for
going to
the
say,
mug.
Dang.
as the mug entails, whenever you're dealing with dad bod, you also have dad strength.
Oof.
Dang.
That
Again.
is something. Hey, you'll find out.
Dang. I don't have it yet.
You'll get it.
You're about to.
It happens
I'm
overnight.
hoping.
It truly does.
Congrats again,
It
by the
happens
way.
overnight.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Future dad. Future dad. You're going to be a strong dad.
So we've tiptoed around something that I want to get your perspective on.
Okay.
We both, all three, collectively stated that we gained a new perspective from the strong mom,
Yes.
and you're fixing to get a new perspective at some point in the future with dad strength,
And just life in general.
just life in general. So, yeah, what is your perspective on life? Because I know off camera you were telling us that was something that you're really passionate about. You have a tagline that you like to reference.
Yeah.
Can we see it on the shirt? Is it on the shirt?
Yeah.
Check out that sweet shirt.
Look at that.
You know, this is
That is not just a sweater.
sponsored.
Yeah.
It's also not just a sweater.
It's a champion sweater because you're rich.
it's
Ooh, now, that'd be a cool sponsor.
man, not just as a brand has been something that I don't have it all figured out, and I'm working on branding and the story and mission statement. I think all those things are important because anything I do, I want to do with a reason.
Right.
I care about asking the question why and being able to answer it when people ask me. So not just is a work in progress, but the thought started with just not wanting to be put in a box.
Okay.
And
Very fair.
whenever I get into situations or meet someone new, I think the shift in perspective I want to have is that person I meet, let's call it a barista, is much more than just a barista.
Right.
And I think I'm just going to talk for myself. I can get stuck in a rut where I, drive-through lady at Chick-fil-A, barista. Like
Yep.
just
That's all
label
we
things.
see. That's
It
all we
is.
see at times.
So not just came from this idea that, man, there's so much more to people. Not just a barista, not just a Chick-fil-A drive-through attendant.
Yeah.
Not just and then when you get into the company space on creating films and videos and commercials, I kind of have that same thought in mind when I work with someone. It's like,
Right.
this is not just a business deal.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to help you tell your story because you're not just a business, and you, owner of the business, you might have a family. You might be a dad. You might be struggling with something like dives even deeper and deeper
Right.
and deeper.
Well, and at the end of the day, they have a soul.
Yeah,
Bingo.
They have a soul.
yeah. So I don't think I've done the idea Justus,
I see what you did there.
but
Nice.
See what
it's a
you
work.
did there.
It's a
Did
work
you
in progress.
did you name yourself?
Yes, yeah, I
Okay,
did.
I
I
thought
changed
so.
my name when I was 10.
I thought so.
I did not. I did not.
So that that kind of something that stuck with me from the event was a quote from Lauren that I guess I had always known, but had never heard it put that way, and so it had never provoked this thought for me. The perspective of community is something that kind of growing up, you're maybe unless you play a team sport, it's not encouraged at all.
Right.
She referenced specifically, she's like, so think about it. You're in school,
Yeah, test.
tests, homework. If you look over at your neighbor or ask your neighbor for advice or help, whatever, that's considered cheating,
You cheated.
which is you're reprimanded for.
Right.
But in life, you can't do it without other people.
Right.
Community is so important, so powerful. So when she said that, I was like, gosh, I had never realized. Yeah, you kind of are ingrained and trained to sort of shy away from help, asking for help. I struggle asking for help personally. Like I really struggle asking for help. I don't know, for whatever reason, maybe it's because I feel like I'm burdening someone at that point. I'm inconveniencing someone because they're having to drop what they're doing to help me do something. But yeah, the power of community is awesome.
And I think creatively too, and this is just my observation of you as your business partner, is you genuinely have an interest in gaining knowledge and skills.
Yeah.
So I think it's twofold. I mean, you don't want to burden somebody, but I think you genuinely want to be able to at least know what you're doing for a lot of different situations.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm the opposite of that. Sometimes I would rather just go ahead and find the person that knows how to do it. And I think both have advantages and disadvantages, and we've talked about that. But it's funny because with Strong Mom specifically, going back to community, they are recognizing that as individuals, they are strong. They are these boss babes, as they call each other. But they're also recognizing the fact that they still need each other.
Oh, yeah.
We still need community. We desire community. It's ingrained in us by design to be communicative people. And so they're recognizing that. And I think that's glorious because, again, in school, growing up, it's not encouraged.
No.
Unless you're on a team sport. It's a very I, me, my society that we live in.
You do
Yes.
it.
You do it, you do it, you do it.
Which is kind of important because you mentioned the barista, right?
Yes.
And that is something that I learned there that they really try to help with the mind shift of those ladies is you are more than your career.
Right.
You are more than any of your other identifiers from the
Right.
outside.
That have been placed on you.
So that goes back to the perspectives you were talking about.
Yeah, even with being a mom.
Yeah.
I mean,
True.
that's huge. That becomes such a soul part of their life, and
Well, a lot of them feel like they lose their identity.
yeah,
They specifically mentioned that. And I remember one of the ladies very vividly, her story, she had so much weight from her youth, these things that were placed upon her because she had watched examples from her parents, her leadership. And, man, that woman had the weight of the world
Yeah.
on her shoulders.
Right.
And I think I remember the coach saying, let go of that. Like you have the option to step off of that pedestal
Right.
Yeah.
that other people have placed you on, which I thought was pretty powerful. I thought that was powerful for her. And I could tell immediately once she chewed on that a little bit, she's like, I can step off of this. I can be more than what these people have told me I am.
Not only can I, but I need to.
I need to. I need to for my sanity and for the sake of the sanity of the others around me.
I left that weekend inspired. That I mean,
I truly did.
it was fun shooting, and maybe the nerd technical side was
Right.
a good time. But sitting there listening to all those talks, like I feel like I have a lot of things in my life that I take away as
Right.
not a mom,
Right.
but I think I can be stronger in
I think
places,
they're
at
applicable.
least for my wife.
They're applicable.
So
They're
Yeah,
applicable.
absolutely.
But on you specifically, so you talk about perspective on the business side of things. At what point in time did you have that realization that perspective was so important? Like, is this something that you brought from maybe your upbringing or your day-to-day life and brought it into business? Or is it something that you realized in business and are now bringing it out to life? Like, what was that process like when you realized that perspective and perception was so important? to you?
Man, that's tough. I think it's probably goes back to the fact that I tried so many different jobs. So
What did you do?
out of high school, I did go to college, and
Right.
it wasn't much schooling. It was more so because I wanted to play soccer. So I
Right.
played 2 years of soccer, and then at some point I realized I'm not going to go any further.
This is it.
That's fine. I'm happy with where I'm at. But then the empty gap was I haven't done anything for school. I barely
Right.
showed up for classes. And
Right.
I was just made myself eligible enough to play.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
had no desires to study anything. So then after school, I continued school part-time and started picking up jobs. And I feel like I've done everything from just manual labor, landscaping, to painting fire hydrants, and
Nice.
to
In
a
Nash
job.
Vegas. In Nash Vegas.
yeah. I mean, I've done that. But I've traveled around doing that. And
You pointed out
A specific,
you
hydrant.
pointed out a
a
hydrant. in
specific
Nash.
hydrant. I painted that hydrant, he
weird
said.
jobs.
I can't say that. I can't say
cannot
the
say
same.
that.
Yeah, that
I'm
was a
jealous.
weird- that's
That's a
weird one.
perspective that I can't
I'm jealous.
relate to.
But all the way to, I mean, retail.
Right.
And I had a stretch where I was like, man, I'm going to be a nurse. I want to take care of people. I had this
didn't
whole
know that.
Did
healthcare
not say
side.
Did not know that about you.
So I think the perspectives, maybe that evolved as I tried so many things and I couldn't, maybe it's just the desire in me not to be put in a box. I can't just do one thing. And I think that's probably where it grew into when I started my company to kind of nail it down. And then I ended up working for someone full time that was in the video production world. And that helped me maybe 'cause at some point I needed to narrow it down a little
Right.
bit.
Dial it in.
We talked about it in one of our episodes.
Yeah.
Niching.
Nation.
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 Niching.
Nation.
Niching. I say niching. It's niche to
In
me.
Tennessee, it's nation.
Period.
Nation.
We're nation.
Hey, that was not very pure Michigan of you.
I'm proud of you. On that topic specifically, of niching down, and because I believe that you're not just XYZ. I do want to talk though about your career in video because it's pretty cultured, I would say. You have the live broadcast background, which you're still a part of. You still go out and do some really cool freelance work. Don't know how much detail you can give on it because you're like super high up, have so many like different clearance levels. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
I think
I
you're
would hate for Spotify to take down your podcast or anything like that. Yeah.
we're probably going to get canceled one day. Anyways, but on the other side of that, you have started to carve your way into the horror film genre.
Oh my gosh.
And it's
Whether you want to or not.
It's beautiful to me. You're on
I
short.
should have laid down the rules of things you can't touch
Listen,
on this.
you're on short horror film number 2. Buddy, you're a horror film director,
I don't like horror films.
but you shoot them. Why?
I just see I see a gap. I don't know. I see in this certain contest that this guy puts on.
Right. Buff nerds.
I just see an opportunity. I don't
Shout
know.
out Jacob Owens and the boys.
It worked well for me the first time.
Yeah, you went
As a-
viral. You went viral.
Right, and
Very
that was all
viral.
because of an opportunity, not because I like horror. Every time, whenever I work with, I worked with Elizabeth and Sandra on this, 2 actors, and they're always pushing.
Actresses.
actresses. They're actresses.
Well,
Well, I mean, that's up to them, I guess.
I think it is up to them.
Sure, whatever.
All right. So when you work with these 2 ladies,
When you work with Sandra and Elizabeth,
They're always pushing to. Oh, could we add?
Yeah.
More blood here, and
Oh,
maybe
gosh.
maybe this happens, and maybe it's a. And I'm like,
Liz.
No. I want it to be scary, but
right?
I don't want it to be scary.
I think
I don't.
But it's hilarious
horror.
because you're not just a horror film director.
Oh my gosh.
You're a horror film director that has your own set of horror film boundaries, which is hilarious, but it's great. It's
not.
great
We're
because
gonna
you
have
add
to-
your quirkiness to horror films.
we're going to have to add a not just
quirky.
counter from Garrett because that
Yeah.
is his favorite thing to say in
I love
reference
it.
to Justice.
You're not just a
obnoxious.
horror film director. You're not just a live broadcast guru. You're not just an influencer.
You're not just
viral influencer, by the way.
Justice.
I can't.
I honestly
When's
though,
the
okay,
next
so I think when's the next break? No, for real. I think
You get no
I think the
breaks.
fact that you just stated that you don't necessarily want to do horror, I think that echoes and further accentuates the fact that you don't like to be put in a box.
Right.
I don't. It might be a problem.
That is a genre that I wouldn't know what to do. Like
I
that's
know a
not
couple
my
guys
thing.
in the industry.
You are actually on a poster. You are on a poster.
What's that one called?
That's a horror film, right?
It's a horror film, an indie
There's
horror
no
film.
doubt that's a horror film.
But it's
Yeah,
based on
right
a true
over there
story.
in my den, in the corner of my den.
Garrett's a published DP at this point.
IMDb accredited for all
That's
you that
kinda
are
cool.
concerned.
You got that frame there.
Yeah.
I framed it.
I didn't know that.
I framed
that's
it.
Really cool.
All 2 scenes that I shot in that movie somehow landed me an accreditation.
Where are you gonna put that up?
I don't know.
if I
Sarah's
would-
pretty sketched by it. She said that I'm not allowed to put it
Would you
anywhere
like to share
noticeable.
the name of what?
It is loud.
Pig Lady.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's based on a true story. Based on a true story. You can go look at it. You can actually look up the story. The 2 scenes that I shot were recreations of the original news broadcast. That was my only hand in that movie. So shout out to Preacher Boy Productions, old AJ and Adam and the boys out there. They got it on the platforms. They got the distribution deals, and they boosted that thing.
Yeah.
And they are still boosting it. And I say awesome. That's great for those guys. But yeah, she's pretty sketched out by it. So
It's a loud poster.
I wanted to put it right there behind you, Jared, which would be in your shot for the podcast here for the
Maybe we
video.
could put it in there.
How about that?
Sarah doesn't like it there because it's too close to the TV, and then people would actually see it. She's also not a horror film fan.
Yes.
I'm a horror film fan.
So you're not a horror film. That's not what your desire is. But you just mentioned niching,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So not to put yourself in a box, but what do you want to be seen as moving forward in the profession
A
in the
collective.
industry?
That's tough. Because
Well,
I admire your horror work. All your work, really.
Well, I think one of my issues with not being put in a box and then saying that it is important to niche, I'll tell you, I don't want to be a walking contradiction. I'm not trying to contradict what I say.
Right.
But if I could stay broad with that question, I'd like to just continue to grow to be a better creative mind.
Right.
So even if I show up on a horror set or a live event or anything else, my experience and what I bring to the table would be sought after
Right.
just because of
Yeah.
who I am, what I've done. So that's kind of my political way of answering the question without answering the question. I just want to be that creative mind that can be an asset on any location.
So I've watched a few other creators, and I firmly believe that for some people like you, that this totally works because your brand is not horror film director. I know I joke with you about that a lot. Your brand is not live broadcast. Your niche and your brand is you. You are the niche and the brand because of the talents and the traits that you bring to the table. And you mentioned, you like the creative side of things. One of the things that I admire most about you is your creativity.
Yeah.
And the writing and the directing of shorts, of scripts, of what have you, in the creative niche at least. You are the brand. You are the niche, which is cool because that's totally acceptable. There are a select few of people who can say that they are that, and I believe you're one of those people.
I think it's awesome too, because obviously you run NotJust Media. We're Motion Creative Media, so 2 different entities. But like we mentioned on other episodes, collaboration, community, those things are really, really important. What's the
Right.
quote? Collaboration.
Not competition.
Right, but
I'm blanking right now.
collaboration happens, competition
Oh, yeah.
happens. Come on now.
Collaboration happens at the top, and then competition is a race to the bottom.
There you go. So, but like when we do get together, and whether it's a spec project like this T-spec that we're gonna
He's dead set on finishing that.
We're gonna put that out. I don't care. People need to see that.
Jared does bring that up a lot.
We had a
dead
lot of
set on
fun
it.
on that shoot.
He loves
I
it.
was watching the BTS the other day.
Yeah.
I was going through an old hard drive and I stumbled upon that folder and I was like, man,
BTS was great.
we never
That's true.
finished that piece. Anyway, so we need to finish that piece. But what I'm ultimately getting at, it goes back to your first point about perspective. We are 3 individuals.
Right.
And there are some similarities and overlaps in the way that we approach things, but there are also massive differences. And so you get 3 perspectives to any problem that we're trying to solve on set on the fly.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really important and also speaks to the importance of community and collaboration.
Well, I think speaking just of us 3 working together specifically, I know right off the top a great example of how we fill gaps with each other. You are the story writer, the director, head, the guy for that. I, for one reason or another, gravitate more towards the picture side of things. Mm-hmm. So I can take what you have in your head and most of the time dial in a picture version of that. He can do that as well, but where I think your strength also comes in, and this is something that I don't have, is you are the one who's constantly trying to fill the voids in like the story. So like if there is a place where we're like, where should we go next with the story? You're usually a pretty good question asker to get the story guy to say, oh, easy, we can do it this way.
Yeah.
Whereas my brain's over here like, guys, as soon as y'all figure that out, I'm going to lay it down on the picture side.
Record.
I'm going to hit record, and we're going to light it, and I'm going to hit it on the picture side. So just right off the dome, that is an example in my brain that comes to mind very quickly of how us three collaboratively solve problems.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. Would you say, I would like to hear it from you, but like Garrett said, I would also echo that. I think so. Like if you, perfect world, if we had a set, what role do you fit most comfortably and naturally?
Don't box yourself in, though.
I mean, that's not boxing yourself in. I think you have to do, I really do. I think that's important.
That's good.
I think you have to do a little bit of everything before you realize, A, what you're good at, and B, what you enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Because, I mean, you may not be a good camera operator.
Right.
But you might be a great director. Or you might be, I mean, so yeah, I'm curious from your point of perspective.
Mm-hmm. There's the P word.
What do you enjoy? What do you get the most satisfaction out of?
Yeah. I think since I didn't really come from this industry, I came from all sorts of different backgrounds and then was thrown into it on my first video production gig, which was in the broadcast space. And I just drove a truck to a presidential debate. That was my first job. And it was
easy. You're giving yourself away now.
Was that a big?
That's
no,
it. We're getting canceled.
It's a little too much.
Canceled. No. I didn't mean that. I meant more so I got thrown into the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So driving the truck, that truck turned into, hey, why don't you learn some of the gear on the truck? And hey, why don't you stay at this debate and keep track of the gear? And then I became that guy's full-time shop guy.
Right.
Just kind of do whatever guy.
Right.
And that do whatever job accelerated me through this industry because I did whatever, I learned whatever. And then I started, after 5 o'clock came around, I would tinker with cameras and start.
Yeah.
That's where I found the niche of what I like to do and maybe more post-production than live production.
Right.
Yeah.
So, hold on, I'm losing track of what the question was.
So like on a set.
Yes.
So let's say we're
What do
doing
you
a
enjoy
spec
doing?
next week. What role do you get the most satisfaction out of?
So the reason I brought that up was because I came from, I never play with a camera.
Right.
One of my favorite things is the communication side to a client and translating that to us.
Right.
So, because
there are gaps.
There are some gaps.
Yeah.
There are some gaps.
So like a
'Cause that's-
project management role.
Yeah, and then when we're on set, I really do enjoy directing. Maybe
Right.
everyone enjoys that because it is the one that is right after the title slide. You
Right.
get the title, and then you
Everybody
have
wants
directed
that
by.
credit.
I actually don't like directing.
I personally don't like directing either, which is weird
Well,
because
then
we
let
all
me
have.
just lay it on to you. I really do.
Yeah.
Right.
I
We
do.
know that.
Yeah. I think you're good at it. I would say that.
Because I
Again, you
seek the fame is what
You want the credit.
I want
and
all the
fame.
credit.
So you like to direct.
I think to answer that question, I really do like that role.
Because the director's kind of overseeing everything. They're communicating with the DP, the director of photography, who is the picture taker, essentially.
Yeah.
They're communicating with all the other people on staff or on set. So, yeah, I think
DP,
that makes
audio,
sense.
light,
Yeah, that makes
gaffers,
sense. That's
art department.
I would honestly, without hearing it from you, I would have said that as well.
For
I would
sure.
have answered that for you as well.
For sure.
You're a good director.
I try to give a little background so it comes off a little more humble than just saying, I like to direct.
I like
No,
to
I mean,
be in
again-
charge.
In charge.
You've done a lot of different things. So you have different perspectives. And again, I think you really have to do a bunch of different things before you realize what you're good at and where you can provide the most value. And yeah, I don't think that's
I don't think you should feel bad about that. I think that's awesome.
It's not
And I know you don't feel bad about it, but I
boasting
think
or
that's
anything
awesome.
or braggadocious or anything like that. I think that's
what you do.
Yeah, that's where you provide the most value. That is
Naturally,
where you're
that's
really
where you fall.
strong. That's not to say you can't do other things. Just like, I mean, there are tons of people on set that can do a lot of different things,
Right.
but they're there to do that thing because that's where they provide the most value.
Sweet. I dig it.
I dig it. Naturally, you have fallen into that place of being a director.
Yeah,
And
I would
I
agree.
think it's because you have all those perspectives. For the listeners, though, because I do want to apply this, I think this is a very powerful and profound thought that I want our listeners and our audience to chew on, chop it up, as I say. How can, in our daily lives, our work lives, our relationships, how does taking a step back and maybe looking at those other perspectives, how can we apply that? And what do you think the difference is when people do consider other perspectives? Because sometimes I'm bad at that. Sometimes I only think of my own thoughts, motivations, and reasons. But what does it do? What is the power in maybe looking at other perspectives?
Man, from a business point of view, I think thinking outside the box
Yeah.
is going to provide outside the box solutions.
Right.
And you're going to reach new needs, fill new needs that you wouldn't have before because you thought differently. From a human, personal perspective, this is faith and frames.
Right.
I've sat in a lot of church services where I sit there and I think, man, how would someone who has no clue what this pastor is talking about
Right.
take what he's saying? I grew up in church, so I know all the churchy words.
But the guy that just walked in today,
Yeah. Some of those words that are like, what? What
Right.
does that mean?
Yeah.
So how is he going to take that? So for me, how can I and how can our listeners shift their perspective to maybe love that person a little bit better?
Right.
Bingo.
And maybe serve that client a little bit better.
Right.
Just by thinking outside the box and looking for needs and finding ways to fill them.
yeah, I think our preacher, he makes a pretty good example, and I try to keep this in mind, like when we're praying with the kids at night or at
Yeah.
dinner time. You know, for the folks who do step into the church for the first time, who maybe don't have a background in church.
Yeah.
You know, I was raised in church.
Yep.
You are.
Same.
We understand the lingo at times,
So to speak.
but also the lingo can be confusing. You know, you hear these very eloquent prayers from people sometimes. Oh Lord, thy God.
Oh, it's so poetic.
It's very poetic.
I mean, they can
My God.
pray with, I mean, the
when I in
best.
awestruck wonder, like there's all kinds of like eloquent prayers that are said, but my favorite prayers
Oh, yeah.
are the ones for my kids because it's so simple.
Yeah.
They understand it.
Your dad on the road back from Nashville, I heard a phone call because it was your birthday.
Yes,
We've referenced that multiple times, right? We
it was my
sang at many
birthday
establishments.
palooza.
Was it?
Lest I remind you.
Lest I remind you, now you've been reminded.
Yes,
He was saying that he didn't feel good.
right.
And he specifically said, have Cole pray for me.
Yep.
That's your son, because I know his prayers are getting there.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah,
I don't know.
They don't
That's-
have
that
to
was-
be. They don't have to
Yeah.
be special, like super written out essay sermons. Sometimes, and our preacher John says this a lot, who I can't wait to have as a guest. Sometimes a prayer is as simple as one word: help. And he hears that. The Lord hears that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so to me that's a great reminder for me too, because we all want to sound nice and churchy when we're praying in front of the church.
Oh, yeah.
But at the end of the day, like that different perspective for someone who's there that day for the first time, hearing a human just talk in a conversational way.
Because at the end of the day, that's what it is.
It is. Conversation's a relationship. And Dad actually held Cole accountable to that. And actually, Cole was the one who reached out to Dad to say, prayed for you, Peppo.
There you go.
So simple. So simple. So anyways, perspectives. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for that perspective here on the podcast today,
I see what you did there.
here on Faith and Frames.
We're going to have you back. Don't worry.
I think we'll have you back if you'll come back, and if
Yeah.
we don't get canceled in between.
Yeah.
That's true. I had fun. You guys are great. You guys are pros.
I don't know
I
about
gotta
all
get a
that.
little. I need a little more practice.
I don't know,
But you guys,
we try hard.
I'm just here.
Certainly
to listen.
try.
Jared, can you give our listeners a call to action really quickly, and then we'll close this thing out because we do enjoy some feedback,
Oh, my gosh, do we enjoy feedback. Good and bad.
good and bad.
Honestly, some of the best feedback I've gotten in life has been not good feedback because at that point it causes you to make change.
Which means they're not just words.
Ooh. I don't know what this counter's up to now, but by George, it's
She's
certainly
hefty.
double digits.
It's looking like a Lakers game.
Ooh-wee.
Anyways,
Yeah, so if you guys could, on most of the platforms, there are review options. If you guys could, if you've enjoyed it or if you haven't enjoyed it, leave us a review. I know at least on the Apple Podcast platform, there are stars, no different than ratings on anything else. So if you could rate us, maybe leave us a review. And here's the other thing: we've mentioned multiple times that we want to be a light, and that can be in more ways than one. If you think someone in your life could benefit from hearing this,
Yeah, share it
to them. Reach out, send us a message, whatever, however we can be of service. That's ultimately what I want to do.
Yes. And in the review section specifically, though, in the good old-fashioned American way, we need stars and bars. We need star ratings, and we need bars of reviews.
See what you did there.
And with that, I think we can finally say goodbye today.
Yeah.
I'm bad at it. You start us.
Thanks for stopping by Faith and Frames in our living room.
Den.
No, this is our living room.
Ah, dang it.
Right?
I was
This
talking
is-
physically.
I know. So
You're
we're
metaphysical right now. Okay.
We're shooting in the den, but we're talking to you from our living
Our
room.
living room. Thank you for that clarity.
There you go.
For that perspective.
I see what you did there.
All right. Let's just say it.
All right. We'll see you later.
See you, bye.
Catch you on the next one. Deuces.